Hello viewers, and welcome to my half yearly update on my top Australian stock picks for the second half of 2023. Now, viewers who are used to my channel will see that I regularly post out my favourite stocks to look out for, and the Australian market is one that I focus in on. Last update about 6 months ago, start of the year, and some of those stocks have been doing pretty well, but the market does not stand still, and in this video I'm going to go through my 9 favourites for the second half of the year. Also going to have a look at the stock market overall and see where it's heading as well there down under. So with that, let's get into the list. First of all though, let's take a look at the general state of play in the Australian stock market. I'm using the ASX 200 biggest, best Australian stocks out there at the moment, and you're looking at a weekly candlestick chart, and you can really see, I suppose, the first takeaway is this sort of sideways movement which has really been going on since about the middle of last year, and it's got a lot of these points of resistance here around that sort of 7650, 7670 area where it just cannot break on upwards. We did see the double bottom pattern there, which could have been an encouraging sign for it to move on up to like the mid 8000s, but it hasn't happened. It's pulled back. We've now got another sideways range between 7000, I said, and that 7650, 70 area. If it can get up, like I said, that sort of 8500 and then 9000 would be the upside targets, but you can see really it has been stuck in that zone for a long time. Down the bottom there, sort of trend indicator giving us a more bearish, neutralish sort of feel. And to the downsides, well, you can see the key support area in sort of the longer term is that mid 6000 zone. So you could be seeing the price bouncing in and out of that range, but if it breaks down first of all through the 6900, 7000 area, we could then see that bottom's tested, and then it's down to 6000 and then the mid 5000. So at the moment it's a very neutral, flat looking position. And remember, the Australian market made up a lot of resource mining, energy type institutions, and they focus a lot heavily into the Chinese market as well, which is also struggling at the moment. So look for that link, that correlation between the two for a move on upwards in the future, but at the moment it's looking quite flat. So heading into the short list of my 9 stocks for the second half of 23, we're going to start with the sectors and the industries that these 9 work in, and on the left we got the stock sectors. There's 5 of them. We got retail, trade, consumer services, technology, health technology, but unsurprisingly the bulk 56% made up of non-energy minerals. Then over there on the right, the industries that they're in: 33% in precious metals, 22% in other metals minerals, 11% biotech, 11% data processing, 11% restaurants, and 11% internet retail. So at least it's a good mix of industries and sectors anyway. So with that, let's now dive into those 9. So we've got first Westgold Resources. Now Westgold Resources are a metals and mining company, and they specialize in gold mining, and they got 4 or 5 really good operations in Australia. They've been doing reasonably well in the last 6-10 months, coming off of lows around 0.75. and if we head on to the weekly candlestick chart, I'll put on 3 potential upside targets for you. The first one is back towards the first real set of highs, which we could see around the latter part of 2019 was tested, and more recently January, or well, let's call that March of 22, and then since then we've had that pullback. Like I said, the bottom around here, and then it's been quite strong on up. So the targets to the upside, we've got 0.72, which gives you a 41% gain, and then 1.235, which is 70%, and then if it can get through that 70% level, which were those previous highs seen in October of 20, then we've got two other target areas, 3.63 and just under 4. And just under 4 would give you about 125% return. So some good upside there in West Gold. And second up, and sticking with the gold mining theme, we have Resolute Mining Limited. Again, another Australian-based gold mining company. Also dabbling a bit of copper as well, and also have operations out in Ontario, Canada too. So a similar type of chart picture that we've seen here on the previous stock recommendation, and actually the returns also very similar to the upside, and we can see that same sort of chart pattern, the pullback and the recovery, hitting a lot of volume resistance at the moment, but if it can get through there, then we've got 45% upside, 73%, and then if it can break those highs that were seen in July 2020, then we could be looking at $7 or $8. So that's Resolute Mining. Third, we have a favourite from previous lists. Who are they? They're IGO Limited. They're a company engaged in discovering, developing and delivering products critical to clean energy. They're headquartered in Perth in Western Australia. And as you can see from the chart, from the lows of March 2020, they've been up to those highs at 427%. They have just pulled off a bit using the Fibonacci's nicely there. For support area around the $12 mark, and then bouncing on up. What could we expect to the upside from where we are at the moment? Get through those highs. We got 35-36% there, with potential, I think, of moving on up towards the $26-27 area, which will give you a 70% return. So that is IGO Limited. And next, another favourite from previous lists, staying on the watch list, is Pilbara Minerals. Now, if you're into your lithium, electric vehicles, that type of sector, then Pilbara, they're into their lithium mining. Very good at it. Got some other international facilities like in South Korea. Again, headquartered in Perth in Western Australia. And as you can see, from those lows back in mid-2020, up a staggering 3,500+ % to those highs around the November 22 time. We've had a bit more of a bumpy ride since, but they are pushing back towards the highs. Must be noted, not too much volume going on at this sort of level at the moment, so I'd like to see a bit more there, because the volume, as you can see, heaviest right down there at the lows. But if it can break on up through that high zone, we've got potentially early 7s, then 8, and then possibly $9. And what does that give you a percentage return in terms of the high one there? There's another 70-80% potentially out there for you to grab. It's back to the gold miners for our fifth choice, Resolute Mining Limited, another Australian-based miner, exploring, developing, operating gold mines in Australia, but also in Africa, Western Africa in particular, Mali. And we're looking at that chart. It doesn't look as encouraging as some of the others. We've had that big pull-off in prices down to the lows right down there, but more recently we've seen a nice bounce up a couple of 100%, so it's showing some positive signs. But we'll point out that we're seeing this range, this Fibonacci here to the lows there, looks like where most of the volume sits in this sort of range where it's been hovering, so it really needs to clear that. And as you can see over there on the right, some more volume around the $1 mark. So we'll be pushing on to there and then on up to the highs. So what does that give you in terms of percentage returns? Well, that first big zone of resistance of volume 130, 140% return. Then if it was to get back to those highs, another 350% there out for grabs. And now for something completely different. Our sixth choice is a company called Mesoplast Limited, based out of Melbourne. What do they do? They're engaged in the development of regenerative medicine products, and as you can see from the chart, hasn't been a great story, but we're looking for a recovery here. Seems to have stabilized over the last year and a bit. You can see there that range with all the volume between half and $1.8 seems to be the key area at the moment. It's pushing on upwards. We're looking for a break there, and upside wise, if we could get back to those highs, it's about 220% gain up there. So a lot of upside potential if they can sort themselves out. Like I said, a regenerative medicine product development company into heart disease, low back pains, also with some tech development in there as well. So an interesting company to look out for. My seventh choice is a company called Megaport Limited. Now they're in the software and IT services industry in the technology sector, and they provide network as a service solutions through software defined networking. They've got a global platform, sort of links networks together, services together. So a relevant current industry. And in terms of the chart, well, you can see it hasn't been the best few years for them, but things seem to have stabilized, and we've seen a recent gain from April to current of 170% nearly, so pretty good performance so far. What we're looking for further upsides, I would say probably the highs, and then can break those highs. We've got a zone of interest that I'd be looking for around about the $33 mark, which is 241% gain. So it looks a decent chart as another sort of recovery stock in a relevant current sector, but it's got to break through this price range. You can see a lot of volume down there. Fibonacci's, we've got these sort of peaks there, a lot of interest around that sort of price zone, which is about $10-11. So that's the key break if we want to see it move on up into that area. But the trend as well also just recently turning bullish too, so another one to watch. Now my eighth choice is a company called Colleens Food Limited. They are again Australian, based out of Hamilton, and they operate, manage and administer restaurants across Australia, Europe and Asia. They sort of focusing on three main brands that you'll all be familiar with: KFC, Taco Bell and Sizzler. Now in terms of chart action, what's been going on? Well, it's been an interesting journey. They've had this pullback, but most interesting I suppose is this Fibonacci line around the sort of $7.50, and then this Fibonacci line here just over the $10. Why they're interesting? Because you've got a lot of resistance there to the upside and support back again the other way. That $10 does seem to be an interesting number, but we've also got, like I said, that support around this lower area here. So that's the key band. The volume is in there as well, so we need it to break up through the 10 to push on up to, let's call that sort of like $20. And what sort of upside potential is that from where we're at the moment? Well, to the highs 30-40%, and then up to that sort of $20 area you're talking just over 100%. So another stock for you for keeping on that radar. Now my last selection is a company called Kogan.com. Now they operate a portfolio of retail and services businesses, including Kogan Retail, Kogan Marketplace, Kogan Mobile, Kogan Internet, Kogan Insurance, Travel, Money, Cars, Energy, Dick Smith, Matt Blatt and Mighty Ape. So a big portfolio there under that banner. Now in terms of price action, again, it hasn't been that great. Big pullback, nearly 90%. But you can see the trend just starting to turn positive. It has recovered from those lows back in mid-July of 22, up 125% so far. And what are we looking for in terms of targets? I think really we've got to focus in on the highs and nothing more at the moment. In terms of price action, we've got this first zone here, which is about 90% increase in price, where we can see the volume there and a lot more price action, so maybe a bit of resistance into there. And then if it can break on up there, we've got those highs, which are nearly 350% away, in terms of possible price action. So a lot of potential upside there in a very interesting organisation. So there you go, 9 interesting Australian stocks for you to follow the second half of 2023. Interesting to see where they head next, and I'll be reviewing them and having a look at the state of the Australian stock market again around Christmas time, New Year, and see whether things have changed or not. Let me know in those comments below what you think of the 9. What would you add into that list, which you're expecting to skyrocket off to the moon for the second part of the year? Love to hear your thoughts. Or if you want to talk more about these stocks or anything about trading for that matter, we've got a free Traders Club group on Telegram. Lots of members in there chatting away, talking to each other. You can ask me questions in there as well, get feedback, anything you want around the world of trading. Link in the description below. So with that, thanks for watching, and I'm going to put a playlist up next if you want to learn trading, take you from zero to hero, work your way through that list, and it's certainly going to improve your trading, and that is coming up right now.